Hey, should we do a comparison between all three of these cylinder heads and see what the differences are? Okay, let's do it. Okay, now while we're looking at these heads, there's something you gotta keep in mind. Air is viscous. The air is gonna go where you can see it going. By looking at the ports, you're going to be able to tell exactly how efficient they are and if the air is going to travel in a smooth, even flowing pathway. There's going to be some examples here where that is definitely not going to be the case. Let me walk you through all three of these heads and show you the benefits, the downsides, and what's going on here. So, what we got is we got the Cleveland, right? We got Cleveland over there. That's the cylinder heads off of it. 2V. So they're the 2V open chamber. Least desirable, but we can still kind of assume things about the Cleveland head based on this. My AFR Renegade aluminum 165 CNC ported cylinder head. And the E7. So really, I mean, we have kind of an awesome lineup. I mean, we have the E7, which is the least desirable. We have the Cleveland, which was the most desirable at one time, ignoring the fact this is the 2V version. And then we have the Renegade aluminum AFR CNC ported cylinder head, which is probably the best one for a small block Ford at the moment, as far as I'm aware. Okay, starting with the E7 exhaust port. I mean, just visually looking, right? It is the dinkiest, the tiniest. I mean, and just look in there, right? You can see exactly what's going on. You got this hump. It's choking all the air. That is the biggest power killer with these heads right there. Using our eyes, I mean, look at that. It is beautiful in there. Nice, consistent flow, right? Nice machining. Okay, nice shape. The exhaust, remember, it's going to come up here at high velocity, so it's going to hit the back of this roof, and it's just going to follow that roof line all the way out. So that clearly, just by looking at it, you can tell that is going to flow amazingly. Now onto the Cleveland. Now use your eyes here, because this is deceptive. It looks like it's the biggest port of them all, when really, if you look at it closely, it's not. Check this out. You can visually see where the exhaust is going to be coming from. This is all dead. There's no reason for it to even exist. That is not increasing flow at all. This is your pinch point right here, right? So that doesn't actually add to the port. Now that is a little more like it. That's a little more realistic of what we're working with here. And now if we compare that to that, it's not looking quite as big of a difference anymore. Now let's visualize where the exhaust is going to come from. It's going to come through here, hit the back. It's going to come along here, right? And looky here. It's undercut. So it's going to come here, and then it's going to come this way. It's going to try to block all the other air that's coming through, because it's getting flung at this angle right here because of this undercut. Back at the Renegade, don't have that. See? It's not undercut at all. It's flowing nice and smooth through here. So really, the exhaust ports on these Cleveland heads are not all that great, to be honest. And that's why they used to cut these things off and put these in, right? That allowed them to raise this port, which would allow a straighter shot out, right? Reducing all of this nonsense. That makes these heads really good. As they are, not the best. Okay, now let's take a look at the intake side. Again, let's look at this. The intake is really not that bad. Now, the air is going to go where you can see it go, right? and it's got a fairly clean straight shot in here. It's got a little movement over this way, but not too bad. The Renegade's clear shot. I mean, nice, smooth entry, right? I mean, not much to be said other than really good. Now for the Cleveland, yeah, it's a good sized port, all right. I mean, yeah, that's what the Clevelands are really known for, is these ports. And this is only the 2V. The 4V is way bigger. Probably way too big, in fact. And the reason I say the 4V might be too big is because that giant port, it really slows the air velocity down, making it very sluggish. Those are really for 9,000 RPM and up cylinder heads. This actually could be used fairly effectively on the street, this size here. Now, the big thing with the Clevelands here is, notice the intake valve. How the intake here is way over here, right? That's how much area we have between the edge of the chamber and the intake valve. Well, this is pushed in a lot further. What that's doing is the air, it's going to hug right here, right? It's going to come and it's going to go right in the center of the chamber, where these come off to the edge of the chamber. More centralized intake charge, the more even it's going to explode and expand. But, I mean, visually, that's really the biggest key to these Cleveland heads, is that right there. Otherwise, the Renegade's valves are the exact same size as these valves here on the Cleveland. These are obviously dinky compared to both of these. I mean, that's really all that we can say about these heads. Dinky, very nice, very smooth, very contoured CNC, no shrouding of the valve really anywhere. These, shrouded valve here, you know, not too bad, round in here. This, kind of little shrouding going on right there, not too bad. You know, it's, by looking at them, we can just clearly visualize what is kind of going on here. So that's really all the differences here from what I can tell just by looking at them. I'm not an expert on these heads whatsoever. This is all stuff that I just looked at and can kind of visualize and see where the flow is going to happen, right? Needless to say, I'm not planning on getting rid of my AFRs anytime soon to switch out for these Clevelands. So, I'll catch you next time.